Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, can President Trump serve a third term as some of his supporters maintain? Also tonight, an update on an immunotherapy treatment for glioblastoma. And the Musical Instrument Museum is about to open a new exhibit that celebrates the world's first wind instrument, the flute. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Constitutional scholars say that there's no legal path that allows a president to serve more than 2 terms. But that's not stopping President Trump's supporters from saying that a third Trump term is very much a possibility and that plans are in the works to make it happen. Joining us now is former Assistant U.S. Attorney Roy Herrera, founding partner of Herrera Arellano LLP. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
All right, can you do it?
Well, I think the short answer to that is no. At least that would be the position that legal scholars would take. And that has to do with the language of the 22nd Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which was designed to prohibit anyone from serving more than 2 terms as president. And I think the language of the 22nd Amendment is really important because what the language says is that no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. Now, I'll get back to sort of the meaning of that language, but it's also, I think, important to think about why we have a 22nd Amendment and when it was ratified in 1951. And that had to do with, of course, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who served 4 terms as president. After he died, there was a movement towards, banning that practice and limiting presidents to only serve 2 terms. And that's why we have the 22nd Amendment.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, as the idea of you could serve, or people would say, yeah, he only served 1 term, then there was something in between. He can run again. How does that all work out? Because Donald Trump did that. He
did do that. And again, I think that most people would believe that that's in line with what the 22nd Amendment contemplates because it says you can't be elected more than twice. He was elected, in this case, twice, in 2016 and 2024. Now, there are some proponents of this idea of a third Trump term, like Steve Bannon, that would argue that the 22nd Amendment doesn't necessarily bar him from serving a third term, that there's somehow a meaning in the word elected in the 22nd Amendment that is distinct from the word serve. So basically, they would argue the 22nd Amendment may say you may not get elected a 3rd time, but that doesn't mean you can't serve a 3rd time. And that would be the sort of loophole, I think, that they would argue exists.
And there are a couple loopholes here. We'll get to the vice president thing in a second. But could an elected president, a J.D. Vance, let's say J.D. Vance wins in 2028, could he appoint a Donald Trump as, I mean, they invented Doge. You could invent whatever you want and say, by the way, he will serve in that capacity as president of the United States.
Well, there's a lot of latitude to what power and authority the president could sort of designate someone, right? I mean, there's not a lot of law on that. And, again, I think the precedent has been that ultimately the president is commander-in-chief and is the ultimate decider on certainly of issues of importance. But I think if he decided to do something like that, the biggest stop to that would be, I think, the American people deciding, well, that's not what we voted for, and we don't like this idea. But he could, I guess, theoretically give some powers over to a private citizen like a Trump in that scenario.
Especially if he ran telling people, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to appoint him as ambassador to whatever, or king of the all-known universe, whatever they want to call it, as long as he could have some of those powers.
Well, there's quite a few, I think, scenarios. Like that is one of them where President Trump, or President Vance, I guess, in this scenario, gets elected and he decides to give Trump a certain amount of power. It's unofficial, but it exists. Another scenario is what happens in a world where the president and the vice president are elected, the presidential term is about to start, but then they both become incapacitated, or they both resign, or they both die. Now, there's a process under the 20th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution that says that Congress decides in that scenario what the succession plan is. Currently, that plan is for the House Speaker to become the president.
Yes.
But they could change that theoretically. They could change the law if they wanted to do something else.
Could they have someone who doesn't serve in Congress?
They could, and that actually leads to a different scenario, which is a scenario of what if we have an electoral college tie, which we've sometimes talked about in terms of the election, because then in that scenario, that goes to the House of Representatives, and they decide who the president would be, which could, again, theoretically be a private citizen. That is not the president or the vice president.
A private citizen who has been elected president but isn't elected here.
Exactly. So there are some, let's say, extreme examples
Sure.
that open up the possibility of someone who is not the elected president becoming president. We still have the 22nd Amendment problem, though, when it comes to Trump specifically, or I should say Obama or Clinton or any of the other two-term presidents, which is to say that if you interpret the 22nd Amendment like most legal scholars would, under all those scenarios, he wouldn't be allowed to actually serve as the president. He'd be barred by the 22nd Amendment.
Let's try this scenario. J.D. Vance runs for president. Donald Trump is his running mate. He runs as vice president with everyone knowing that if you elect J.D. Vance, you're really electing Donald Trump, and they will just switch offices. I mean, Vance can probably still be called President Vance, but Trump takes over the West Wing.
So that seems to be the scenario that some of these folks like the Steve Bannons are really focused on, is this idea that, a President Vance gets elected and then he resigns, and then Vice President Trump becomes the president again.
Okay.
Now, I think still we have the 22nd Amendment problem, because I think most legal scholars would say that there is no distinction. When the drafters of the 22nd Amendment put that together, they did not see a distinction between elect and serve, that the whole point of the 22nd Amendment is to prevent anyone who has already served 2 terms from serving anything more than that. And that if you allowed something like this vice president ascending to the presidency loophole, that really defeats the whole purpose of the 22nd Amendment and why it was enacted after FDR.
There's also some thought that all this talk, this conversation, the hinting, the suggesting, keeping it in the news to a certain level is a way to loosen up the Supreme Court so that in time, this doesn't come as a shock to the Supreme Court, it comes as something they might want to or have to consider. Does that make any sense?
Well, it sounds a little bit like, some of the things that this administration and Trump has tried to do in the past on other, let's say, novel legal theories to try to preview them before this U.S. Supreme Court. And quite frankly, this is an issue that no one has really dealt with, because nobody has tried since we've had the 22nd Amendment to serve a 3rd term. And other than FDR, by the way, before FDR, it had been tradition that no president served more than 2 terms, using the example of George Washington, who served for 2 terms as our first president. It just hadn't been law yet. And then FDR, that happened, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We had World War II, we had the Great Depression, but after that was the decision to bar that practice.
And the last question here, could Donald Trump, as president, declare a national emergency come 2028, 2027, 2028, and he basically says, no, there's a national emergency for whatever reason he decides, elections, especially for president and for commander-in-chief, these are called off, suspended for now. Could he do that? Could he stay in office?
No, there is no process legally for that to occur, for him to essentially set aside the outcome of an election and decide to remain as president. There are these extreme examples when you have, the nominee or the president-elect, let's say, become incapacitated, resign, things like that. There's a scenario, like I said, with an electoral college tie. But the law provides for pathways on how to deal with that scenario. There is no situation where he could just simply declare a national emergency and say, hey, I'm gonna stay on as a result of this national emergency as the 3rd term president.
Put on your political hat here for just real quickly for the last question. Is this a way just to make him, so he doesn't look like a lame duck?
I think that's a lot of it here. I mean, certainly after we get through next midterm election, every president in the second 2 years, particularly ones that can't run for re-election like he can't, become a lame duck. And so this could be a method of him trying to sort of hold on to that power. It also, I think, just thinking about, to the best that I can understand President Trump's psyche, this is about, I think, at the end of the day, self-aggrandizement and this idea that, only he can serve in the way that he does as president, and therefore the country, sort of needs him to continue. That's what I think is happening here politically. But legally speaking, there are all kinds of roadblocks here, and ultimately, I don't think it'd be successful.
Roy Herrera, Herrera Arellano, LLP, always a pleasure. Good conversation. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Every city has its share of savvy hustlers, and it turns out pigeons are the epitome of street smart. Social, intelligent, agile, and tough. How did the humble pigeon master the urban hustle?
Wednesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
In a space mission, the environment is trying to kill you.
Liftoff. The International Space Station is underway.
Operation Space Station. High-risk build. on Nova.
Wednesday night at 8 on Arizona PBS.
On Secrets of the Dead.
We need to relook at the murder of the Princess in the Tower.
I think they actually survived.
If Richard III didn't kill his nephews, the Princess in the Tower, then what happened to them?
On Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
Glioblastoma is an aggressive brain cancer with few effective treatment options available, but researchers at Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center are moving to phase 2 of a clinical trial that uses the patient's own tumor cells to create a personalized immunotherapy. To learn more, we welcome Dr. Ramya Tadapatri. She's neuro-oncologist and principal investigator with Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center. And we also welcome Dr. Joseph Georges, neurosurgeon and longtime researcher in immunotherapy development, and he's also with Banner MD Anderson. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Tadapatri, we'll start with you. Glioblastoma, I mean, we all know John McCain, and we all know that it's really aggressive, and it just seems like it's something, it's almost like, you know, it seems like there's not a lot in the way of development. Why is that? Why is it so hard to treat?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And so with any type of cancer, the tumor can be pretty smart. It mutates around the treatments that we give, and glioblastoma especially can become resistant to many therapies. With the brain, there's the added challenge of we have this blood-brain barrier. And naturally, your immune system is designed to go after the cancer, but this barrier can limit your body's ability to send your immune cells in there. So that poses another challenge.
Is early detection a big part of treating here, or is that not as important here than it is with other cancers?
So the one thing that's helpful with early detection is we ideally want to try and catch the tumor before it grows to the point of causing neurological symptoms. Yeah. Because unfortunately, with a lot of our treatments, we are not able to meaningfully shrink the tumor. So once a patient develops these neurological symptoms, it can be difficult to reverse.
Interesting. Dr. Georges, again, it sounds like you guys are in phase, when you say phase 2 of a trial, what does that mean? Well, how's that different from phase 1?
Phase 1's primarily designed to look at safety, and phase 2 starts looking more at efficacy. So if we start seeing some promising results in phase 1, phase 2 is designed to see if that's really the case and if it's really working.
So it sounds like it was relatively safe here to move forward. Talk to us about this. It sounds like it sounds like immunotherapy. You're basically using the tumor and finding out how to treat it.
Yeah, it's very exciting work. So our immune system has cells that can detect and attack cancer cells. Unfortunately, with glioblastoma, it's very good at tricking the immune system and hiding from it so that our own body can't fight it. I got involved with this particular line of work 12 years ago working with Dr. William Decker from Baylor College of Medicine. Together, we developed the phase 1 clinical trial and just saw very promising results. It was overall safe at multiple doses, and we started seeing patients survive much longer than expected.
Okay, was that a bit of a surprise? I mean, what were you expecting here?
Having done a lot of research, it was very surprising because a lot of times you do a lot of work and in the end things don't turn out as you hope that they would or you think that they would. But in this case, we started seeing patients live far longer than expected, and I started seeing MRIs from some of these patients where the tumor looked like it was melting away.
Wow.
Literally 18 months and even longer almost 24 months after diagnosis, I was looking at MRIs and there wasn't even a sign of tumor anymore for some of these patients.
You know, for years, Doctor, we've been talking about immunotherapies here, sometimes success stories, and we don't hear anything for a while. Is this similar to immunotherapy regarding other cancers?
So immunotherapy it's a very broad term. So it's really just using your immune system to fight the cancer. There are a lot of different ways of doing that. One other type is CAR T-cell therapy.
Yes. Yes, talk to us about that.
Yeah. So with CAR T-cell therapy, the one major difference is that there's a specific target that we train the immune cells to go after. And so it's worked very well in things like leukemia or lymphoma, where we have that one target, that one molecule, protein on the cancer cell. But another challenge with glioblastoma is it's a very heterogeneous tumor. So it's very difficult to identify that one target to go after.
Interesting.
So with this approach, we don't have to find that one target because the immune system is trained to respond to the whole tumor.
The immune system, with immunotherapy in general, but this in particular, when the immune system is targeting this, is it messing other things up at the same time? How do you keep that from happening?
No, the immune system is smart enough with this vaccine that it's not attacking normal cells. It is attacking the full complement of tumor antigens, though. So in comparison to the CAR T therapy, where it may be targeting one or two antigens, this vaccine is made from the patient's tumor, and it encompasses the full complement of tumor antigens. So we're targeting multiple cell types within the tumor.
So this phase 2 trial, how long will this take?
Roughly 2 to 3 years.
How long did phase 1 take?
Phase 1 took just over 2 years.
Okay, so you're still, it's a couple of years to figure out whether, but I mean, it seems like you're on the right track here, huh?
It appears to be. It's very exciting right now, but we've enrolled 23 patients so far nationwide for phase 2, and we're looking forward to see what the results will be.
Yeah, and I have to ask you real quickly before we go, are you encouraged? Are you optimistic about this?
Yes, very excited about this. Average survivals, even with standard treatment, is typically in the span of 12 to 14 months. With some personalized approaches, second-line off-label therapies, we might be able to push that a little closer to 2 years. But and Dr. Georges can speak to seeing much or better survival so far.
We'll have to ask him back for that because we're running out of time. But it's good to have you both here, and congratulations on this. This is really very encouraging. Dr. Tadapatri and Dr. Georges from Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, how today's state-level elections could affect the nation. That's coming up at 6 on Arizona PBS.
A new exhibit at MIM, the Musical Instrument Museum, showcases more than 100 rare flutes, tracing the instrument's cultural and artistic significance across thousands of years. Joining us now are Matt Zeller, MIM's curator for Europe, and Eddie Hsu, the museum's curator for Asia and Oceania. Gentlemen, good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. Matt, we'll start with you. It's called The Magical Flute, Beauty, Enchantment, and Power. This was the first wind instrument.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us on, Ted. This is the world's oldest wind instrument. We've got examples. Eddie's going to talk about an 8,000-year-old ancient Chinese instrument called a yue. We've got other examples, and the flute really speaks to the breadth of the human experience of music. We've got from wind blowing across a cave face and creating a reverberance. Ancient peoples understood the principle of how to make a flute and have been making bone flutes for thousands upon thousands of years.
Yeah, and Eddie, I was going to ask about that because it seems like every culture has got some sort of flute or whistle or something that does that similar sound.
Yeah, correct. And part of this exhibition is celebrating the flute or other kind of instrument under this broad category to celebrate that as the world's oldest wind instrument. And we have this bone flute from ancient Chinese world from dated back to 8,000 years ago.
Let's take a look at this. This is like 8,000 years. How do you pronounce that?
It's called yue, and it's crafted from vulture's wing bones. And it's a really fascinating because it's such a rare archaeological instrument.
8,000 years old?
Yeah, correct. And experts have sound tested this replica of this type of flute, and they found that they can produce a surprisingly consistent series of tones.
Really? Isn't that interesting? All right, let's go to the next one. This is like, I think that our next one is going to have like a mask. This is a flute? What is it? What are we looking at here, Matt?
Yeah, we're looking at a ceremonial outfit and a hunter's whistle. And so the ceremonial outfit is known as a Tukunza mask. Comes from the Chokwe people of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and is wonderful. And so within the exhibit, we're not just showing flutes, we're showing all sorts of contextualizing objects. So this outfit has this headdress that is 3 feet tall, 3.5 feet tall, and it's amazing. And the outfit invokes the spirit of the ancestor. And then the musical instrument, the whistle, is made in the image of the outfit, also to invoke the ancestor and protect them on the hunt.
Wow, isn't that something? All right, let's keep it moving here. We have a 14th century early, this is an emperor's flute from the early, Eddie, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so this particular one we're talking about is actually one of the very two made for the Japanese emperor named Go-Daigo from around early 14th century, and it's richly decorated with multiple layers of lacquers, showing elaborate motifs of dragon and clouds. So it's just a marvelous work showcasing a really remarkable aesthetic beauty.
Very ornamental.
Yes.
Ornamental, but does it sound pretty good?
We don't know, but, it's a really remarkable example to speak to our theme of beauty, enchantment, and power.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Matt, we got a carbon fiber flute from, this is relatively recent, right? This looks like a flute.
Yeah, this looks like a flute. It was made in 1999. It is made of carbon fiber. It has magnets instead of springs to return the keys to their resting position. Ooh. Instead of pads, it has gaskets, it's got rubber gaskets like your car. It's really a fun instrument to see what you can do with the flute and how you can change it and modernize it and update it.
So it's like a brave new world with the flute. I mean,
absolutely. And the funny thing is, we had a wonderful professional flutist come in, Jasmine Choi is her name, and her comment was that it sounded more like an older wooden flute rather than a modern silver or gold instrument.
Almost like guitars. Those carbon fiber guitars sound pretty good too, and they're not made of wood at all. Eddie, do you want to talk about the James Galway flute? Man, who wants to take over on this one? This is, Sir James Galway. Sir James Galway.
Sir James Galway.
Yes, he's pretty big stuff in the world of flutes.
This one's pretty special. This was, when we decided that we were going to do a flute show, the first thing I thought of was, we have got to get a flute from Sir James Galway. This is the man with the golden flute. He is the most iconic flute player during my lifetime, and many of the people who love flute music today, Sir James Galway is the first name they think of.
Eddie, we've looked at historically how important the flute was and how it had to span so many different. Does it still span cultures?
Yes, and this show is about celebrating the magical quality and powers of the flute. And we have things like ancient Chinese bone flute, but we also have something really close to our contemporary memories, like flutes used by Sir James Galway, and also we have other costumes used by famous opera productions. So different kinds of elements really add to the shows, and every object, one by one, really speak to those magical power of flute.
Very good. Opens Friday. Where can we learn more about the exhibit? Where do we go?
MIM.org, MIM.org.
All right, and you even got a flute owned by Napoleon. Napoleon owned a flute, huh?
He sure did.
He seemed like more of a trumpet guy to me, maybe a trombone, but a flute, huh?
A crystal flute that is beautifully faceted with 540 individually ground facets. It is a sight to behold.
Gentlemen, good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. That's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.